Hi guys, hope you're having a great day. Now, I don't think that there's ever been a time in our generation's history that collectively the human race has ever been under this much pressure and stress than we are right now. And one thing that does fix all these yucky feelings and lifts all these layers of stress and heaviness, as we know, is just a good old laugh. I have a question for you. When was the last time that you had a really good laugh? You know, the type that sort of hurts your tummy and releases all those endorphins. It's a really good question, isn't it? And I can't remember the last time I actually had a good old laugh. But our special guest here today is definitely going to help us. And who better to get us giggling and to help us laugh than our special guest, Rachael Favilla. Now, if you're in need of a pickup, Rach is definitely your lass. Now, Rachael is a beautifully unique individual and unlike anyone that you've ever met before. Now, she is a comedic nutritionist and yoga teacher and author of a book. Hold it up, Rach. Periods, Poo and Glorious You. I'm just going to say this again. Periods, Poo and Glorious You. I mean, if that just doesn't give you indication of this fantastic individual, I don't know what will. Now, it's her professional responsibility to provide you with science-backed, evidence-based information about how to stay well and calm in the most thigh-slapping, hilarious way possible. And she's also a good sucker for a good tune. Thanks so much for joining us today, Rach. How you doing?
I'm well, thanks, Rach. That was a glorious introduction. Thank you.
Now, for everybody watching, this is a disclaimer that at no point are we disregarding the importance of, you know, the government's jurisdictions at the moment of what's happening with COVID-19. Of social distancing and isolation and hand washing and all the important crucial stuff that we need to be doing. This chat today is really just about releasing some of those pressures and finding the lighthearted humour in this terrible situation that we're all in at the moment. So Rach, I've got to start by saying this is a really interesting combination with your job title per se, being a combination of lots of different things. So it's a comedic, nutrition and yoga teacher. So it's a little bit like you've grabbed all of your favorite things in life and you've combined them together and you've really made up your own rules and your own position description, which to me is absolutely brilliant. So it's a little bit like saying, all right, I love ice cream, I love popcorn and pizza, and I want to combine them all and eat them all at once. Or like, I guess in the job scenario, it's a little bit like saying, I love ice skating, I like to yodel, and I like to do magic tricks, and you want to do them all at once. So I guess it takes a really talented person to become a comedic nutritionist and a yoga teacher, lots of skill sets all in one. And you really are a perfect example to others that there are no boundaries in life and that we really can create and be whatever and whoever we want in this life. So what's your take on that?
I think you summed it up beautifully. And may I just say, I don't mind a good yodel. Just
I
on
know,
the
hit me
side.
with it.
Yodeling. No. Yeah, well, I think it was kind of almost accidental. So we'll get into it, and that's partly what my book is about. But I was really sick as a teenager. But I always loved drama and performing and watching comedies. Like I grew up with Friends and all of that sort of stuff, and you know, had dreams of being an actress and all of that. But when I got really and I loved nutrition and cooking as well, like the creative side of all of that and how what we put into our bodies can either make us feel really good or make us feel really tired. And when I got really sick, I didn't respond super well to medication. And so I intuitively just had this hunch in it. This was before the days of like social media and made like really even, there was internet, but I wasn't all that well versed in it. But I just had this hunch that, well, maybe, I don't know, if medication isn't working, maybe food could at least help my situation, because at the moment I'm staring down the barrel of organ transplantation and I'd rather avoid that. And it worked really well. And I started just changing little bits of my diet and my lifestyle and becoming a bit more aware of what I was putting on and into my body. And that was the first thing that worked to turn my health around. And so I was kind of like, I don't know, I feel like I should probably do this professionally. And I am a bit of a nerd. Like I definitely have that science part of the brain that loves researching and learning and asking questions, but I really love being cheeky and comedic. And I just found that sometimes nutrition and science in general can be very, very dry and very like, I don't know,
Yeah.
closed-minded sometimes. And I think there's, when I was in my third year of uni, one of my best mates was like to me, you need to write a book, like you need to write your story down, you need to give people like all these tips and all of that, you've got a unique approach. And I was like, ugh, but every nutritionist, yoga teacher, they all have books and they're all wearing bikinis on the beach and having green smoothies. And like, I'm a bit of a cliche, like that is who I am, like, but that's been done. And she's like, no, find a different way. And so I wrote and I wrote and I wrote, and I was like, this is fine, but it's like I'm just regurgitating every other nutrition book or cookbook I've already read. And then I started writing character sketches and cartoons and little like whimsical parodies and all of that. And I'm like, this is a really good way to communicate information. So I kept going with that. And then I started when I went into my fourth year of nutrition, and we had to do placement in a nutrition clinic. I tried to bring that in with clients, and they responded quite well to it, to the point where sometimes supervisors were like, you can't write about like fart smelling vegetables, you can't put that in your treatment plan, because I'd be like, cruciferous veggies, the ones that smell like farts, and my clients would be like, haha, and my supervisors would be like, no, you can't, that's not professional. And I just remember thinking, do we want to educate people? Do we want people to get excited, or do we want it to be like, because most people can't even pronounce cruciferous. So when I got out, I was a bit lost. I was like, I love nutrition and I want to get this message to people, but I don't want it to be super serious. Like, it is evidence-based. It is all backed by science and my own personal experience, but how can I do it in a way that reaching the audience that aren't already reading all the more textbooky, straight science, very organized, ordered books, the ones that just want to have a good laugh and have a good read, and it just happens to be about health and they happen to learn. So I think if I wasn't doing what I was doing, if I didn't feel like there was such a need for education and empowerment in terms of health autonomy, I'd probably be doing musical theatre or stand-up comedy. And I was like, well, why don't I just combine the two and educate people through protein? Yeah, and that's
great
me.
lesson for others to be able to see that no matter what your skill set, your interests and your life passions and what you see and feel as your life purpose, you can actually combine those. So you've really demonstrated that there are no boundaries, which is awesome. Now, we've got lots to talk about today, but before we get stuck into the article and the questions, I just wanted to ask, and as you've alluded, which we'll speak a little bit more about in a moment, but you're someone that has been critically ill before, which we'll speak about more later on. But I just wanted to ask, how would you have felt if you had been as sick as you were back then right now, from an empathetic perspective? How do you see that someone that has is critically ill, in maybe not with COVID-19, but how would you have felt right now if you were critically ill in this time of COVID-19?
Yeah. So I was immunocompromised for quite a few years. I had an active autoimmune disease, but also I was on quite high dose of immunosuppressive drugs. So my immune system was like way down, rock bottom. And I knew logically that I was more at risk than other people, but I also had this feeling like, I still have to be able to live my life, but I would just do it in a very sensible way. Like, I knew it was not everyone else's responsibility to keep me safe. And I also because I know that now at the moment, everyone's like, we all have to do our bit, and we do, but there is also still, I think, that personal responsibility of like, it's no one else's fault that I got sick. It's not my fault that I got sick either, but like, I was very conscious of like, I don't also want to be I don't want to use the word burden, but there are just some things at the moment that I can't do. So if my friend has a pool party, I mean, not that anyone's having pool parties at the moment, and if they are, you stop, cancel it, please, social distancing. But I can't. I have to sit on the side. I can't go in, but I don't expect everyone else to not go in. And I think the same thing if it was now. I know you can't ever answer 100% because I'm not right there now, but I would have just gone, okay, I need to stay home, and maybe my mum needs to work from home, and maybe I need to self-isolate in my room, and it's not fun. But I wouldn't have wanted small businesses to go out of business just to potentially save me, if that makes sense. So Yeah, I think I would have just been like, I need to do what I need to do. And I'd love it if people did what the government's asking, you know, social distancing, 2 meters, don't flaunt it, wash your hands. You know, I saw this thing this morning. If someone coughs, tell them to be far away from you, like far cough, fuck off. And, but, you know, other than that, I do think there's still that level of like, just us, you know, keep yourself safe as
Yeah.
well, because you do have that power, and you can't control what others do, and you shouldn't really feel like you need to be at the mercy of what others do. You can be empowered and do as much as you can.
Yes. We've got
Yeah.
lots to talk about. Let's get stuck straight into the questions. Rach, why is humour so important during these times of uncertainty?
I think number one, because it just makes us feel better. Like it gives us a bit more of a sense of community and hope, and even if just for that 10 seconds that we're having that belly laugh, we're on a different frequency to the doom and the gloom and the panic and the uncertainty and, oh, what's the next cabinet meeting going to reveal? And I also think we have as much as it's inconvenient and it's stressful, we do have this really unique opportunity, a lot of us, to kind of almost rebuild and break down structures and go, what do we really want to do? And it's a great time to learn and make habit change and change up the way you do things. And I really do believe that comedy and health and lightheartedness is a great means of education. I'm not into the whole fear mongering and this is bad, don't do that, this is horrible, this will kill you. Like, you know, like, ugh, who wants to do that? But if you just make it fun, like I'm like the queen of poo jokes and talking about the bowels and making bodily functions very readily available to as a chat sort of thing. And I just think, yeah, if we can laugh our way to good health, not just laugh and like be healthy, but have all of the things we need to know wrapped up in a whimsical sort of easy to understand package, we are far more likely to want to consume that information and take it on board rather than just going boring, restrictive, I can't be bothered, I'm dealing with enough, see you later, I'll just be looking at memes, thanks, on TikTok. So yeah.
Let's get stuck into question number 2. You know, why do you think that humour is the key to health and social education?
I think because we know that stress, as much as short-term stress can be really beneficial, it can spring us into action, it can, you know, rev us up and initiate change. Chronic stress it's one of the worst things for us right now because it suppresses the immune system, and none of us need suppressed immune systems right now. So, and I feel like humour is the opposite of that stress. And it's just, yeah, like I've said, it's even when I do research for things and I'm reading journal articles and that, I get excited for a bit, and then I'm like 6 pages in, I'm like, could they just speak English, please? And I think whereas if you've got, the way I often write is, it's not me talking to you, it's the food or it's the body part, and you know, they're very whimsical and fun. Like I can even read a little bit of a passage out a bit later, maybe to exemplify that. But it's funny because it's like quinoa is making jokes and talking to you and all of that. And so you're kind of fascinated. You're like, I know quinoa's not actually talking to me, but let's just hear her out. What does she have to say? And in the meantime, you're learning. So I think it's just also just a different sort of incentive to consume information that might be really beneficial, rather than it just being in jargon that's quite thou shalt do this sort of language.
Yeah. And of course, we've got the 2 different parts of the brain, and people may have heard this phrase before, red brain and green brain, and the highly analytical part of the brain is a red brain, and that's what you're saying about, you know, the papers, and you're 6 pages in and you're like, can't you just make it more simple? When you green brain things, I mean, that's sort of opening up a completely different aspect. And so it sounds like that you sort of speak in and write and communicate to your audience in that tone, so it is a lot more sort of visual and open-minded. Would you say that that's the best way that you would describe and communicate?
Yeah, I always say my tagline is, I marry health with humour and science with soul. So perfect. Yeah, and try and merge the two and appeal to all the different personalities and learning styles that are out there. So yeah.
Now, as you've alluded to during the chat, you've mentioned, this is question number 3 that we've got, you know, once you were immunocompromised in the past. Now, what measures did you take for your family to stay safe and also still, you know, sort of ensure that you had your health as well?
Yeah, so we were big on, I mean, I think at the time, this was 10 years ago, so the understanding of the magnitude of how unwell I was, I don't think we quite understood it, so maybe there was a little bit of naivety, but we ate really well. So we definitely increased our fruits, our veggies, our oily fish. We got a lot of fresh air. We did try to laugh, you know, because I had a lot of hospital trips, and me and mum would like make jokes in the car. Sometimes we'd read to each other. So she'd be driving and I'd be reading the Hunger Games out loud to her. And we would, you know, I had to do school online for a little while, which is quite fitting because there's about to be a whole country doing, actually a whole nation doing school online. So, you know, in between lessons, we'd do things like charades, or, you know, I'd be muted from the online classroom and mum would be like making jokes, like pretending she was going to turn my microphone on and say silly things to the teacher, and just those sorts of things. So I think we definitely tried to look on the bright side. It was self-deprecating humor. We'd make fun of my disease and a little bit of a, you know, and yeah, make jokes about how it could be worse or like how bad it was, but like, ha ha ha. Yeah, and I think that really helped. But I think nutrition was a big thing. We also reduced chemicals in the home, so we switched to natural cleaning products just to reduce the amount of work my body had to do, because it was liver that was compromised. It was autoimmune hepatitis, so I was down to 2% liver function. So for me to process any extra chemicals and get them to a safe state that they could be excreted it was like my body had to run a marathon to do it. So we just focused on what's the gentlest approach in everything, in personal care, in cleaning, in food. And it took time, but from the second we started that, my blood test started to get better and better over years, and my medication went down and down and down. And then last year I got the clean bill of health, and I've got a scar-free liver, which we didn't even know if it would be possible. So it was slow and steady and as optimistic. And it wasn't always sunshine and rainbows. There were tantrums, there were fights, but for the most part, we'd always try and anchor back to what can we do?
Yeah. And there's a really strong message in that, no matter what the situation, you know, a positive mindset can definitely get you through. I was diagnosed with MS when I was 6 weeks before I turned 16, and stayed very, very positive with my mind. And this is a story for another day, but I was able to get through it. And thankfully it's never come back, because I was willed it out of my body, and all of that positive stuff. So I really do believe that the body, in a lot of scenarios, can heal itself. Not in every scenario, but in any illness, as long as you have a positive frame of mind, it's not going to hurt. It's not going to hurt at all. So
I think, sorry, do you mind if I just say, because I think it's really good if you can remind yourself that the body has the tools it needs. And we often believe in surgery and drugs, and we should, because a lot of the time they work and they're great, but the surgery is correcting something so then your body can kick into gear and do the rest. The pill is blocking something so the body can kick into gear. It's not that the surgery saves you or the pill saves you. It puts your body into a state where it can just do what it needs to do. And so if you think about it like that, it doesn't sound as crazy when we think about changing our emotions to put our body on a frequency where it's just the neurotransmitters and the hormones are more conducive to healing. Same with what we put in or what we avoid. It's always our body that heals us, and whether it's a drug or surgery or food or a supplement or whatever, that's just a little tool that's boosting it, but it's always our body that does it. And I feel like if people could grasp that, they might not go, oh, that's hippie or that's a bit woo-woo. It's like, no, it's no matter what, whether it's Western or Eastern medicine or a combination, your body's always the one coming to the party at the end of the day.
Yes. So, I mean, as a recap, how would you sort of paraphrase what your key messages are out to families at the moment, in the middle of this pandemic? Understanding that a lot of families, as we said, have got all of this heaviness, negativity with what's been put on us with social economic pressures, and anxiety, all of that stuff. How would you paraphrase, you know, what your recommendations and advice is at the moment?
I think at the moment, and everyone is in such a different situation with varying levels of how this is impacting them. So this is very general, and please, if you're in the depths of despair, please don't feel like I'm trying to make light of your situation, because I don't know what everyone who's listening is going through. But this is an incredible opportunity, I think, for us to learn and to be a bit more connected. I feel like even though we're all socially distanced, we're all finding ways to become more connected than ever. And I think it's a really good time to share humor, to share hope, to share optimism. And, you know, I was thinking yesterday, because I'm trying to every day put something whimsical and positive on social media, just to kind of balance some of the negativity that's on there at the moment. And I was thinking, well, autoimmune hepatitis, there's no real known cause or cure, but they do hypothesize that it's a virus. At some stage, it's a random virus comes in and kind of hijacks the immune system. And, you know, by the time it was found, I was close to death, and yet I didn't die. And I learned a whole lot from being sick that inspired me to have a career path that I love, to write a book that I'm really proud of that was put out just to help other people laugh their way to health. And, you know, it completely changed me. And I guess I have a virus to thank for that. And so I think if we can hold on to that, usually there's always something good that comes out of these really tragic, stressful situations. And if my story is a bit of, or your story even, is a bit of an anchor and reminder of that, we have something to hold on to. Like, there were times where I could not see my way forward, but then I'd get my head set back and I'd go, what can I do today? And eventually it just got better. And all of a sudden, after months of my blood tests going, they just started getting better. And I think the market will go back up. You know, we will be let out of isolation at some stage, and it's not going to be like this forever. So if we can make the most of this time, and take the good parts away and assess if there's anything that we're ready to let go of that maybe we just hadn't had the time to address, this could end up being a good thing.
Yeah, I really do think this isn't once in a lifetime opportunity. This is once in a generation's opportunity to be at home and to be able to really have a look, as you have, to say, okay, well, who am I as a person, and where can I pivot my life, potentially to be able to take me closer to what my life's purpose is, what I'm really here to do, what I'm here to give back to the world, and to build a life's legacy. And I think you're a perfect, sorry for coughing. It's not Rona, it's okay, it's just my coffee. But a perfect example of saying, well, what are my skills, who am I, how can I combine all of that and have this beautiful concoction of all of these different things in life and create this life path for myself to be able to help others and leave a life's legacy, and really do something about what I'm here to be able to do, and that is to be able to sort of find your life's purpose. So once in a generation opportunity to have the time to be home in isolation, and to be able to do something that you have, Rach, you know, with you, and thankfully, thank goodness, you were able to get through your illness, and as you said, that's brought you to where you are now and doing what you're doing. You've written your book, and your business and everything else is a testament to what you went through with being sick. Now, hopefully there'll be as little people affected with COVID-19, that they won't have to go through an illness to be able to get to that same stage. Everybody has that opportunity at home at the moment, scratching their heads going, what are we going to do? You've got the internet, you've got access to so many different things. Why not just reinvent yourself and use it as an opportunity to pivot and create the life that you've probably only ever dreamed of, and there's nothing stopping you. And there's nothing stopping you, Rach, from doing it, because you're bloody doing it. So it's fantastic. So I'm really grateful for your time today, Rach. If anyone has got any other questions or want to reach out to you, where can they find you?
They can find me on allthews.realsoupfortherealsoul.com, on Facebook, Real Soup for the Real Soul, Instagram, Rachael Favilla, YouTube, Rachael Favilla. Were we going to talk about the article at all, Rach?
Oh, did I miss the article? Oh, sorry, I've really
that's okay.
Okay, well, before we sign off, just quickly, just give us a little bit of an overview of the article. Sorry, I've been so sort of wrapped up in everything you've been saying.
That's okay. I was like, no, that's fine. So for those that read Kiddopedia, I'm one of the contributors, and since the whole COVID thing got really real here in Australia, I've been writing parodies. So I've got 6 up on YouTube at the moment, and one of them I wrote exclusively for Kiddopedia, and I've just been taking pop songs and kind of changing the lyrics around a bit, but keeping the tunes. And this one in particular on Kiddopedia, so I've got it up on YouTube. It's called Panic Free Parody, and we'll include the link in the show notes. But it's a take on a Taylor Swift song, and I have performed it. But if you go to Kiddopedia, I've actually written all the lyrics down, and there are links that provide a little bit of rationale behind them. And it's about the things that we can do now to be good citizens and to also look after ourselves. But I've also got other ones. I've got like the 12 days of COVID instead of the 12 days of Christmas. I've got COVID would suck without tunes instead of my life would suck without you. someday after Corona instead of somewhere over the rainbow. So we'll include those, and if nothing else, just get them stuck in your head, share them around, have a laugh, have a go at writing some of your own, maybe if you have the time.
Oh, thanks, Rach. Thanks for the sunshine and the beautiful energy that you put out to the world. You're a beautiful soul, and so honoured to be in contact and in partnership with you. Take care. We'll have all those links, as you said, at the bottom of the introduction paragraph, and hopefully we'll get to be able to speak with you again really, really soon. Take care.
Yeah, that sounds really good. Oh, and can I just say for your listeners an offer at the moment, because I know cash is tight for a lot of people, I'm offering that if you buy my book, you get a free half-hour nutrition consult with me. So I'm happy to extend that to any of your listeners. So all they have to do is get in contact, order a book, and they get a free consult.
Awesome. Thanks, Rach. And
my pleasure.
Get in contact with you via those links. Take care, and we'll speak to you again really, really soon.
Amazing. See you, Rach. Bye.
Bye.